Storm surge breaches are nothing new to Long Island. In fact, Hurricane Sandy brought 3 of them. Now, these are usually looked at as negative as they bring in saltwater intrusion and even beach erosion. But what if I told you that there's some positive impacts that have impacted Long Island waterways just like this one? That's right, Amanda. We're on the corner of Holbrook and Middle Country Road where a rear-end crash has occurred. Authorities are right on the other side. They're not letting us get too close, but they said that one person has been transported to the hospital for minor injuries. Now, we're heading back outside, and there are even more lights out here. We have music going on over here. The music, interestingly, is synced with the lights of the Christmas tree that is a little bit behind me right here. This is a whole new display than what we saw before when we were in the car, and I must say, I am really blown away. This is a really, really good way to start your Christmas season. Right now, I'm out here at the Stony Brook Village, ringing in the holiday season, and I'm joined by Long Island's very own Elisa DiStefano. Now, you've been looking around shopping. What's your favorite thing for today?
Wait, you forgot something in my title. Expert shopper. Have I not proven myself to you
She's
today?
proven herself today. She has.
I love Stony Brook Village because I love shopping small. I love supporting local businesses, local creators.
Things seem to be heating up in Washington today as we learn more about the Epstein files. Last night, the Oversight Committee received several documents from the Epstein's estate, including what is believed to be a birthday card from President Trump to Epstein. Despite the card having the president's signature, he denies that he ever wrote it. Take a look.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt even took to X on Monday stating, quote, President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it. In the beginning of the election, the presidential side, at least, was leaning red in the beginning, but we didn't see the all red wave in all of the categories. You know, this is pretty interesting. We also have to keep in mind that during 2020, we saw that big blue wave later when the mail-in ballots were being counted in later. So, you know, also deadly DC plane collision last week involving a commercial airlines jet and a U.S. Army helicopter. An investigation is still underway as to what caused the crash, but newly discovered data highlights signs of a possible altitude discrepancy. Since then, crews have been working tirelessly to extract remnants from the Potomac River crash site. Good evening, Jake. And yes, we have a lot of updates coming out of this conflict. And for right now, all eyes are on Hamas, as they have previously stated that they'd be releasing all of the Israeli hostages. Now, things are underway, and they're working with the United States and Israel to make this a possibility. But one question remains: how is this exactly going to work, and will both sides hold up on their deals of the bargain?
I am concerned about the future of America. I happen to agree with the Kerner Commission when it said, quote, by failing to portray the Negro as a matter of routine and in the context of the total society, the news media have contributed to the black-white schism in this country.
This excerpt from the Kerner Report is being read by the powerhouse journalist herself, Melba Tolliver. Since her debut on ABC News in 1967, she's covered many topics on the air, including politics. We traveled to Bangor, Pennsylvania, and spoke to her on her thoughts about the state of the 2024 presidential election and its coverage.
One of the major primetime seasons for broadcast and for reporting is the election season, in journalism, especially for political reporting. Now, we're on the horizon of one of the most controversial, unprecedented elections of a lifetime in U.S. history. What would you say is something that Americans across the country should pay attention to throughout the coverage of the election in order to figure out what candidate they're going to pick for November, especially in Americans who are in swing states such as Pennsylvania, where we are right now?
Pay attention to how much time you spend watching television news and reading daily papers, fewer and fewer of them. Pay attention how much time are you spending. I think it's not a good idea to spend a lot of time just overwhelmed by the coverage, which for me, and I'm very critical in a negative way of a lot of the coverage, which to me is not real reporting, it's repeating. And so it's the same thing over and over and over and over again.
This election obviously is different in many ways, but one particular way, this is the first time that a black woman has been the head of the Democratic ticket and is, going up against a Republican who's also on the presidential ticket. And this is the first time that this has happened. So how does this make you feel for the future of politics in America?
First of all, because I'm not sure when I'm talking to somebody if we're speaking the same language of what is politics. I don't know. I have a sister who lives in Columbus, Ohio. In fact, she lives in Jim Jordan's congressional district. And of course, one of her U.S. senators is J.D. Vance. Now, my sister is not stupid. She's educated, but she really didn't even know that she lived in Jim Jordan's congressional district. And she says all the time, well, I'm not into politics. I say, you're not into politics. Well, politics is into you because your life is shaped by my understanding of what politics is or are. So I'm just not sure at times.
Reporting from Bangor, Pennsylvania, this is Miles Reese, Stony Brook Media Group.
Live music and performances aren't the only things that the Jazz Loft has to offer. The Loft's Music History Museum spans throughout all 3 floors of the facility and includes all kinds of things like portraits, vintage furniture, and even the first Grammy ever presented. President and curator of the Jazz Loft, Tom Manuel, says it's always interesting to see which exhibits grab the most attention from the guests.
It's interesting. It kind of changes. We change our exhibits, so it depends what's on display. And it depends who's here. One of the things that I found really interesting as of recently is we had somebody restore the 1960 hi-fi television unit downstairs that belonged to Louis Prima and Keely Smith. And I'm amazed at the amount of time people spend when we have it on in front of it watching it, and lots of times it's older people with kids or grandkids explaining to them what black and white TV was, or why a television is a piece of furniture, or if it's something we have playing which is typically older programming from the period of the television, people talking about who was on TV and what they watched and how they accessed and sourced their entertainment. There's a connection between performer and audience, and there's that energy, and that moment is shared that is only going to happen once in a lifetime. That's rather special and important, and it's always my favorite part of any performance when that connection is made with an audience.
In Stony Brook, New York, this is Miles Reese, Stony Brook News.